Hi everyone! In this video, we'll see how to create an image annotation project with auto object detection enabled. For this use case, we'll be working with fashion model images, where our goal is to detect the model along with all the fashion items present in each image. Let's get started by navigating to the Projects page and clicking on New Project. Enter a project name. For this example, we'll use Fashion Articles. Next, provide a process name, and we'll call it Detection. We can leave the non-mandatory fields blank. Since this is an image annotation use case, make sure the project type is set to Annotation, and then click Next to continue. In the Project Documents section, we can upload reference documents for the project. We don't have any project documents to upload in this example, so we'll skip that step and move on. In image annotation projects, you'll notice that a media URL field is available by default as the input field, with the field type already configured as image. This means we don't need to create additional input fields unless our use case requires them. Under the Output Fields section, you'll find two default fields, Annotations and Classes. The Classes field is where we define our labels or entities. There are two ways to create these classes, manually or by importing them through a template. Let's look at both approaches. First, click on Edit and create a class called Suit. We can then add attributes to this class. For example, let's create an attribute called Color and set its type to drop-down. Add the possible color values, say red, green, black, blue, and teal. Specify a default value if needed. Click Add to add the attribute. Next, let's add another attribute. We need Type of Suite. Let attribute name be Type and set field type to text field. Once the attributes are configured, you will see them in the attribute list. Click Save and Add Another to save the created class with its attributes. Now let's look at the template import option. Click on Import Using Template, where you'll find the option to download template file. The template allows you to define class names, colors, attributes, and attribute types, such as drop-downs or text fields. Fill in the required details in the Excel file and save it. Once the template is ready, import it back into the project. After the upload is complete, close the import window and review the configured classes. You'll notice that the manually created Suit class is present, along with the additional classes imported through the template. We can search for a specific class using the Search option. The class names come with Edit, Delete options as well. Now that we have created all the required classes, let's save and close and proceed to the next step. Next, we need to select the execution method and configure the execution levels. By default, you'll see an annotator level already added. Since this workflow doesn't require additional process logic, we'll continue with the default setup. Let's review some of the advanced settings available for image annotation projects. Under the Annotation Configuration section, we have Annotation Line Width, which comes with a drop-down of line width options. If you want the bounding box boundaries to appear thicker than the default setting, we can select a different option. You can also choose which annotation tools should be available to annotators. If no specific tools are selected, all annotation tools remain enabled by default. Another useful option is Display Object Class Names, which shows class labels directly within the labeling interface. Similarly, you can enable or disable the display of annotation attributes. You'll also find an option to enable object detection, allowing the platform to generate pre-annotations automatically. This eliminates manual object detection. Additional settings include bounding box rotation, which enables bounding box rotation in the labeling UI. This can be enabled, disabled based on the requirement. Next, Do Not Allow Polygon Overlapping feature gives you an option to enable or disable polygon overlapping. Once all these required
Setup the
settings are
standards.
configured,
Go to the
click Next to continue. Now let's configure the preprocessor for auto object
Now
detection.
let's add
Navigate
the
to Project
preprocessor to
Task,
the project.
then Task Properties. In this section,
Let's
search for the
for
Object Detection Preprocessor and select it.
Let's configure
In the
this.
Configuration
So we
section,
select the
choose the Media
URL from the
URL
image
field.
board.
Select the provider from the dropdown. For
Select the
Select field to store the annotations, we'll use the Annotations field.
External URL will
Since
be
we don't
null
have
for
an
this
external
one, since we
endpoint
don't
to
have
configure,
anything.
we'll leave the field blank.
Once we select
Once all the required
we
options are
can
selected, click
With
Add.
that,
The preprocessor setup is complete, and the project configuration is essentially finished. The next step is to add users and create datasets. Since our workflow contains only a single execution level, let's assign one user to the project. Once the user is added successfully, we can proceed to dataset creation. Create a new batch and give it a name. For this example, we'll use Article 1. Set the priority to 1 and click Submit. To import data, you can either use cloud storage or upload files from your local system. If cloud storage has been configured, the import window will display cloud as one of the available options. Let us configure cloud storage by providing bucket name, region, access key, and secret key values in the required fields. Once all field values are added, click Submit. Now in the Import dropdown, with all import options, we have the Cloud option as well, which will help you import data from cloud. For this demonstration, we'll use media files stored locally. Select the files and start the import process. After the upload is complete, the tasks will be created successfully. Finally, let's take a look at the labeling interface. Open the My Tasks page and navigate to the Fashion Articles project. You'll notice that the images have already been loaded with pre-annotations generated by the object detection preprocessor. The system has automatically detected the objects present in the images and created corresponding annotations. Within the task interface, you'll find all the available annotation shape tools, along with the configured classes and attributes. You also have access to undo and redo actions, as well as keyboard shortcuts that help improve annotation efficiency. On the left side of the screen, you'll see controls for adjusting settings, such as contrast and opacity. If an annotation needs to be modified, simply select it and choose the Edit option. For example, if an object has been assigned the wrong class, you can easily change it. In this case, we can change the label of the annotation. And that's all for this video. Thank you.